It's past midnight. The house is completely still. You're somewhere between awake and asleep, and then you feel it, a weight landing at the foot of your bed. Soft footsteps moving in a slow, deliberate circle near the door. A low, almost inaudible sound coming from somewhere in the dark. Most people assume their cat is restless, bored, just being weird. But behavioral science tells a completely different story. What your cat does between midnight and 4 in the morning is one of the most sophisticated expressions of interspecies protection that exists in nature, and almost no one recognizes it for what it actually is. Let's start with what seems obvious, because it deserves to be said before it gets dismantled. Cats are nocturnalish. They have bursts of energy at night. They patrol, they hunt, they play. So when your cat starts circling the bedroom at 2 a.m., the easy answer is, this is just instinct. It has nothing to do with you. But here's the problem. If nighttime activity were purely about hunting energy, cats would distribute it randomly through the house. Studies of free-roaming cats using GPS tracking show they don't. Owned cats with strong human attachment consistently cluster their overnight movement around their owner's sleeping location. Not the food bowl, not the window, you. So why do they keep circling back?
Researchers at the University of Lincoln in 2015 found that domestic cats form what are called secure attachment bonds with their owners, the same psychological architecture that human infants form with caregivers. One of the defining behaviors of a secure attachment figure, proximity seeking during perceived vulnerability. You are most vulnerable when you're unconscious. Your cat knows this, not in words, in something older than words. A second study, published in Animal Cognition in 2019, examined how cats respond to changes in their owner's breathing patterns during sleep. The findings were precise. Cats increased their alert posture, ear rotation, and positional vigilance, specifically when owners entered deeper sleep stages. They weren't reacting to noise from outside. They were reacting to you becoming less responsive to noise from outside. They were covering for you. But here's where it gets really interesting. That low sound, the one you sometimes hear from across the room in the dark, is not random vocalization. Research into cat communication distinguishes between social chirps, distress calls, and a third category that most owners never learn to identify: low-frequency, rhythmic murmuring directed at a sleeping or unresponsive human. Ethologists describe this as contact maintenance signaling. Your cat is essentially announcing, "I am here, I am watching, you are not alone." It's a sentinel call, and it's aimed at you.
Here's a question almost nobody thinks to ask. How long have cats actually been doing this? The answer goes back roughly 10,000 years to the earliest grain stores of the Fertile Crescent, where wild cats and humans first began sharing space. But the relationship didn't stay transactional for long. Archaeological evidence from a 9,500-year-old burial site in Cyprus shows a human interred alongside a cat positioned facing the same direction. Deliberately, intentionally. We were sleeping beside each other almost from the beginning. That behavior your cat performs in the dark tonight, the circling, the watching, the quiet sound in the corner, is not modern. It didn't develop because you gave them kibble. It is ancient, carved into the relationship over hundreds of generations of mutual dependency, mutual trust, mutual protection. Now I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about because the findings seem strange at first. A 2021 study measuring cortisol levels in cats during overnight periods found something unexpected. Cats who slept in the same room as their owner, even without physical contact, showed lower stress hormone levels than cats who slept alone. You'd expect the opposite: more stimulation, more alertness, more stress. But the data said the reverse. Being near you calmed them down. Even while they were protecting you, your presence was regulating them. The watch and the comfort were happening simultaneously. That's not a coincidence. That's a bond so deeply encoded that vigilance and safety have become the same feeling, and both of them are anchored to you. There's one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. If your cat has always been active near you at night and suddenly stops, if they no longer circle, no longer settle near the door, no longer make that quiet sound, pay attention. Research on feline cognitive decline and chronic pain both document withdrawal from proximity seeking as an early behavioral signal. A cat who stops watching over you isn't being independent. They may be telling you, in the only language they have, that something is wrong with them. Your cat has no words. Behavior is the only message they can send. So the next time you feel that small weight land near you in the dark, those deliberate footsteps moving slow and quiet around the edges of the room, you know what's actually happening now. Your cat is not restless. They're not bored. They're not just being a cat. They chose your room, your bed, your breathing in the dark, not because you feed them, not because you're warm, because somewhere in 10,000 years of shared nights, your safety became their purpose. That is not instinct. That is love with a scientific name. If this changed how you see your cat tonight, subscribe and tell me in the comments, does your cat have a specific spot they always go to when you're asleep? I want to know where they've chosen to watch over you. Next week, we're getting into why your cat sometimes stares at a completely empty corner of the room and what they're actually detecting when they do it.